How y'all doing, guys? Welcome back to Retro Dodo. Now, I'm doing a kind of conversation piece today, a laid-back piece of content that you can keep on in the background. I did one of these chats a couple of weeks ago about the Evercade Versus, and a lot of you that are subscribed enjoyed it. So I thought I'd make another one about a new topic. It's not a new topic, in all honesty. I'm a bit late to the bandwagon, but I thought I'd share with you my predictions of the upcoming Dreamcast Mini. Now, it's not official. SEGA has not released any information, but I am confident that it will happen over the next couple of years, and I thought I'd share with you my opinions and predictions. So grab a cup of tea, grab a cup of coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation. So this video is stemming off a conversation that the creative director of SEGA had with the Japanese magazine Famitsu, and he basically goes down the lines about mini consoles, and they asked him a question regarding what's coming up, and he said, I think for the next one we may go with a concept close to the Mega Drive Mini. If I have to say some names, it could be SG-1000 Mini or a Dreamcast Mini. So that's some big news there in itself. Now, I know that this is old news. You've probably read a few posts about it in the past, but I thought I'd go over my opinions and why I think the Dreamcast Mini is going to be launched in 2023, so no time close. Now, the SG-1000 is a great console. For its time, it was pretty damn good, but another quote from SEGA basically said that they want to create a new mini console for the international market, because we had the Game Gear Micro, which was basically just a Japanese collector's item that may have sold well, may have not. A lot of SEGA fans wasn't happy about it. But the Sega Mega Drive Mini and the Sega Genesis sold very, very well, and they want to do something again. But the choice of consoles they have is basically between the SG-1000, which was exclusively released in New Zealand, Australia, and Japan. So that doesn't necessarily have an international market. You could say the Sega Saturn, but if you compare that with the Dreamcast actually sold 10 million units worldwide, which is a significant more than the Sega Saturn. So it's probably smart for them to go with the Dreamcast Mini, but there's a few problems in terms of how they can make it and how they can make it affordable. And that's the big problem we have here for SEGA and upcoming mini consoles, is how to get it under $99. Anything over $100, and then you start to see a drop off in sales. You know, the PlayStation Classic was around about that price, and it didn't sell too well. Admittedly, it sold a lot, but I think Sony wanted a bit more from it, whereas the Mega Drive Mini was retailing for around about £69 here in the UK, and it sold quite well. It was that perfect amount of money for the quality that you got. But what we're having a problem with here is that the Dreamcast Mini is harder to emulate. It needs a lot more processing power, and with processing power becomes more money per unit. So for example, the Mega Drive Mini had 256 megabytes of RAM, where typically in these emulator consoles you need about 1 gigabyte of RAM to emulate Dreamcast well, and that has to go alongside a pretty powerful CPU. So how they're going to do that under the $100 mark is the big question, and that's probably what's holding SEGA back in releasing it. SEGA will want to release the Dreamcast Mini as soon as possible. If they could do it this year, they probably would. But I think the pandemic has pushed back materials, has maybe cut them back on a little bit of budget, and we may be seeing the Dreamcast being pushed further and further back due to, you know, basically money. That's what it comes down to. They're on the fence whether they can probably release it this year, but the price per unit is exceptionally higher than $100. And with the pandemic and getting materials in and budget cuts, you know, they're probably thinking, you know what, maybe this year isn't the best time to launch it. However, it is Sega's 25th anniversary in 2023. Could we possibly launch it then, and we could afford the materials for far less because technology has just advanced in 2 years, and then we can maybe launch it for the same price as the Mega Drive Mini, which was around about £69 here in the UK. So that's my big prediction, is that as much as I want to get the Dreamcast Mini tomorrow, this year, I really do think that Sega might have to pull the reins back on that a little bit, and they might have to market it around the 25th anniversary of the Sega Dreamcast Mini in 2023, which gives them a higher chance of making it more affordable for a bigger audience. Now, I've made that sound quite hopeful, but there's still a lot of speed bumps that Sega needs to get over before they can officially launch it for an affordable price. And the biggest one is game size. Now, typical Mega Drive ROMs are actually quite small in size, whereas Dreamcast ROMs, blimey, you're looking between 500 megabytes to a gigabyte in size. And if there's only a 16 gigabyte storage inside, that's only a small amount of games that you can get in your Dreamcast Mini, especially if it's going to cost you £69. So there's going to be between like 10, 12, 15 maximum, probably not even 15, probably like 10 to 12. And I think that will put off a lot of people. So again, if they wanted to go for a 32 gigabyte storage, that would probably push a lot more games into the console to make it more approachable for people that want to pick it up. But when you get into more games, then you need to start looking at licensing. Now, a lot of the big games on the Sega Dreamcast aren't from Sega. If you look at like Marvel vs. Capcom, that's a great game, but that's not owned by Sega, so they'd have to get the licensing for that. And if, for example, they wanted to go for Crazy Taxi, they'd almost have to buy and relicense the music for that. So there's a lot of stuff in the back end that they have to consider, and they have to pick and choose their games quite well. Now, obviously 16 gigabyte to 32 gigabyte storage is going to increase the price. So you could even say they might do what the Game Gear Micro has done and keep it very, very selective. But then again, if they only have 5 games on like the normal edition and then a limited edition where they have another 5 games, people are going to get a bit pissed off because they have to buy 2 consoles for an extra amount of games. So I don't think Sega are going to do limited edition variants like they did with the Game Gear Micro, because the Game Gear Micro was targeting a very niche collector's audience, whereas the Dreamcast, they're going to have to go big, and I really do think they want to go bigger than the Mega Drive Mini, and with that comes a lot of issues. Like, for example, the controller, for Christ's sake, that's going to take a lot of work. If they want the VMU included, that's even more work. They got to put a screen in their controller. They probably wouldn't make it removable. Like, my prediction is that they wouldn't even add a VMU into the Dreamcast. I don't even think they'd add a little screen into the controller. It would just be a very basic looking controller. And if you wanted, I don't even know if it would come with 2, because the Dreamcast controller is quite big. I know it doesn't take a lot of money to make them like the Mega Drive Mini, but the VMU is what's going to cost them. If they wanted to add all of the technology from the VMU into a modern day controller like now, it's a lot of work, which also increases the price. So you can see what Sega are probably discussing now about the Dreamcast Mini. And the longer they leave it, the higher chance that they can make it more affordable. If they launched it this year, I really do think it would be over $100 if you wanted over 10 games. But maybe in 2023, when technology advances and they can afford these bits and bobs and the materials and the chips and stuff at a more affordable price, that's when they can bring down the retail price and get more people involved. And a lot of it comes down to the games chosen as well. Like, you know, they're gonna have to have Sonic Adventure, Skies of Arcadia, Shenmue, Crazy Taxi. All of those are gonna have to be in it to sell. It has to have Sonic. Maybe even Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2, because as we know, Sonic sells. So they are my very brief predictions. I think, you know, price-wise, it has to be similar price to the Mega Drive Mini. Release date, 2023. I honestly think they're going to be pushing it back a little bit after the pandemic, and they're going to make it a 25th anniversary product. Almost, you know, not going down the collector's route, but oh, this is limited edition, grab it while you can, even though there's like 500,000 units. So that's my predictions. It's going to be around about £70 out in 2023, come with around about 15 games, and hopefully 2 controllers without a VMU and no internet connection. So let me know your predictions in the comments below. I'm always very intrigued with these kinds of videos because I know a lot of you have a lot of opinions, so put them in below. I'm always cycling through the comments, and if you want to support us, you can subscribe to the channel, or if you even want to support us even further, we have a Patreon where you can get exclusive early access to videos like this and giveaways as well. As per usual, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.